me on the next episode of Quarantined with Lavell, where I will be talking to my special guests, Ron and Stephanie Jordan, who went through the Dave Ramsey Program and got rid of $145,000 worth of debt. Wow. We're going to talk about their victories as well as their challenges over that 7-year period and how it feels to finally be completely debt-free. We're also going to talk about how it feels to live and give like no one else. Make sure you tune in on Thursday, June 10th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Neal Down Productions Facebook group page, as well as the Neal Down Productions YouTube channel. You don't want to miss this episode, so spread the word. Tune in, and we'll see you on the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Quarantined with Lavell. I am excited. We have a wonderful couple in the studio tonight, and you all saw the commercial, so we're going to learn from them. But before we bring them on, let me first give glory, honor, and praise to the Lord Jesus Christ, and let's go to him in a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for this program on tonight, God. We give it over to you. We ask you to have your way on tonight. You speak to us through your spirit tonight. Use the Jordan family to bless us tonight. Let us take heed to what you're saying and speaking to us, Lord. And we ask you to allow this to go over the airwaves freely in Jesus' name. Amen, amen, and amen. Listen, we are excited. All right, I was waiting on this. My wife giving me the thumbs up, which means she can hear and see well. All right, let's see here. Sure, my uncle is... Oh, all right. My mother-in-law is watching. God bless you. So let me give my shout-outs right now. So thank God. I give God praise for my wife, my wonderful, amazing wife, LaKenya, and all that she does. So definitely shout out to her. Shout out to our 9-month-old son, Emmanuel, who you got a chance to see a little bit of in the opening montage there. And, of course, don't forget that you can always go back to the August 20th episode. That was the day he was born. We went live from the hospital. You get a chance to get a glimpse of him when he was about 9 hours old. Now he's 9 months, going on 10 months old. Got to give a shout out to my mother and my mother-in-law, to my Uncle Neal, my Auntie Linda. I truly give God the glory, honor, and praise for all the people he's placed in my life. All of my viewers, everyone who faithfully watches this show, I truly truly appreciate you. Listen, if you're watching on YouTube, then go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Just go ahead and click that thumbs up button and also share it out. Let people know that we are on. And if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button on there and hit that share button, because we want to get the word out right now, and because I guarantee you that we are going to be blessed on tonight. All right, there's my lovely wife right there. Sounds good. All right. Someone said, hey, Lavell. I'm not sure who that is. I have my other computer up over here. I believe that's Janaea. I'm not 100% sure. Actually, I met this wonderful couple through my friend Janaea, so I'm not sure if that is Janaea, but if it is, what's up? And listen, everybody, if you want to, make sure that we see who you are. So let me show you this. So when you notice with my mother-in-law, you can see her name on Facebook, my wife's name on Facebook. But you can't see this person. But if you just go to this quick website, it's in the description, and this is only for Facebook. If you just go to this link here, StreamYard.com/Facebook, click permission, and come on back. It'll take less than 15 seconds, and then we'll be able to see who you are when you comment. So we appreciate each and every one of you for doing that. All right, so we are... yes. Got to give a shout out to, notice I said my mother in love, right? We don't say in law, we say in love, right? The Lord, and you all can go back and watch the episode where I talked to my wife about how God brought us together. So I apologize. I cannot forget about my sister in love and her wonderful, wonderful son, Alex. When I met him, he was about 4 years old. I think he's 9, going on 10 years old now. And, because he was really young, and I'm just a little bit older than his auntie. I remember when he first met me, he looked at me and he looked at her. No, he was looking at a picture of me and her, and he asked her, he's like, "Is this your daddy?" Yeah, so we started off on the wrong foot, but now we're not. We're on the same path now, on the same page, and I love him so much and appreciate him. So definitely shout out to Alexander Fitzgerald. God bless you, my nephew. I appreciate you. All right, listen, I think that's all the announcements. Make sure you stay tuned. At the end of the show, I'll let you all know what's going on for the next couple of weeks. And we have some heavy hitter lineups. So I truly have to say that God has blessed me with some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guests. We have not had a boring show. Every single one of my guests and episodes has been great, and it is nothing to do with Lavell. Nothing to do with me at all. It is all glory to God. And because one thing that we want to make sure that we do is provide you all with information that you need, information that you can use. And I believe that that is the case on tonight. So please help me welcome this amazing couple who got rid of a ton of debt. You all saw it in the commercial. $145,000 in debt. And before somebody out there says, what, 100? How did they? Listen, it is not hard to accumulate debt. One day, and one day soon, I'm going to give my testimony about how much debt I had. This was before I met my wife. When we got together, most of the debt that we had was mine anyway. So, but we're very, very close to being debt-free. So we give God the praise for that. One day we'll give you that testimony. But please help me welcome my very, very special guests, Ronald and Stephanie Jordan. God bless you all.
God bless you. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Man, my absolute pleasure. So, listen, man, now I just want to make sure you all know that we're very laid back. It's, it's not a stuffy, we're laid back. You all have freedom. I've had guests on the show and their kids will run in the room and hug them in the middle of the show. So I don't mind that. Why? Life happens. I have a 9-month-old son, and I'm sure when he starts walking and running around, I'm sure I'm gonna be in the studio, and at some point I'm gonna be on the show, and he's gonna run on in, and if he does that, then it'll be Quarantine with Lavell and Emmanuel.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes. Absolutely. All righty. I'm getting a bunch of messages here saying everything is looking good and sounding good. All right, so I'm going to pull up these questions. I have a list of questions for you all, and we're just going to go through these questions, and I do truly pray that this blesses somebody. So everybody out there listening right now, hit that share button. I want as many people watching this as possible so that we all can learn and give God the glory, honor, and praise. So the first question I always ask is, tell us a little bit about yourself. So just take a few minutes and just tell us a little bit about Ronald and Stephanie.
Want me to go first?
Go ahead.
All right. So my name is Ronald Jordan. I'm a Jesus lover number 1, family lover number 2, and Home Depot lover number 3. I'm currently operations manager at the Home Depot. I have a lot of experience in transportation and such. Also a minister at Kingdom Builders Fellowship Church here in Atlanta, where the pastor is Elder Matthew Little. And also I am originally from Metro Detroit. I was raised in Southfield actually, but I lived all over Metro Detroit. And I'm just honored to be on the show and share our story. Me personally, I think we speak for both of us. We love traveling. I love reading. I'm into sports, obviously, and I like political stuff as well. So I'm just glad to be here.
All right. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. So I knew you were from Detroit. I thought you lived in Atlanta. I wasn't 100% sure, so I'll let you tell it yourself. So, Stephanie, where are you from originally?
I'm a native of Atlanta.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Born and raised here, went to school here. Moved to Michigan once we got married 15 years ago. We've been married for 15 years.
Nice.
In March.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved back to the Atlanta area about 6 years ago. And so we are excited to be on your show today to hopefully encourage others out there that are trying to go through the debt-free journey, that they can do it.
Amen. All right, so let's jump on into it. So the first question I have here is, I'll let you kind of handle it the way you want to. I'll throw it out there. So at what point did you realize that debt was starting to overtake you, and how did that feel? Like, was that a scary feeling? Was it just a normal feeling? So at what point did you feel like this debt was just starting to kind of overtake you?
Well, I'll say from my perspective, and Stephanie can give hers, but from my perspective, the debt didn't really scare me because basically we really didn't know how much debt we were really in. And I believe that our mentality was basically, if we could make the minimum payments, we thought we were good. Mm-hmm. So we didn't, until we actually started the program and actually got on a budget and started counting up, going through the whole debt snowball process. That's really when we found out how much debt that we were really in. So I wouldn't say it scared me or felt like it was overtaken. It's just, I do remember that moment, that aha moment that Oprah talks about. And basically one day I was sitting on the couch. I remember exactly. We were living in Novi actually at the time. I was sitting on the couch and I was looking, at some statements and things. And I was just trying to figure out, like, all the bills are paid, thank the Lord, never been to the point where lights been cut off, gas been cut off, stuff like that. Yeah. But at the end of the month, we never had anything left over. And so I was looking at these statements. I'm like, where is all this money going? And that's pretty much where it started for me.
Gotcha. Okay. What about you, Stephanie?
Well, from my perspective, I honestly had no idea that we had all of this debt going on, in a sense. I went through school without any loans, and I know I had a lot of pretty much credit card debt when we came into the marriage, but I didn't realize that the amount of debt was, as large as it was. And so it really wasn't until Ronald brought it to, my attention that, we were making it, we were making ends meet, but like he just said, we didn't have anything left over at the end of the month. So I think I was probably just oblivious to the fact of what was going on until he made me aware of it.
Yeah, debt has a way of sneaking up on you. I remember my first credit card. I don't remember how, maybe it was 20.
Yeah.
Maybe I was 20 when I got my first credit card. And I didn't know this at the time, but they strategically sent it to me 3 weeks before Christmas. I was Santa Claus that year. Everybody had a gift. I was a ninja. I was throwing my card around like a ninja star. I was, just all over the place. And then it got to the point where my limit, I had to keep calling them to up the limit because I was over the limit and I couldn't. So I said, well, if they up the limit, I won't spend anymore. I'll just keep paying on it. And I had the money, so I spent more and I spent more. And then my one credit card, and I'll talk about this later on a future show, but one credit card had gotten up to almost $30,000.
Wow.
One card. And at the time when I was 20, I didn't know what an interest rate was. And my interest rate was like 23%. I didn't understand what that meant. But at almost $30,000 for one card at a 23% interest rate, my bill per month was over $600, and it was not even scratching the surface.
Wow. Yeah.
That was my point when I realized that I couldn't breathe. One credit card, and I had others too. One credit card, $600 something every single month, and it was not knocking that principal down at all. So for me, that was my point. Like I was like, I have to do something, and I still hadn't heard of Dave Ramsey yet. I'll tell you all how I heard about Dave Ramsey, but I went through a program called Green Path, and they helped negotiate with the credit card company, and they got the interest rate knocked down to like 2%. So that helped me out tremendously.
Yeah.
And just so in case anybody's wondering, that card is completely 100% paid off. Still paying on some other ones, but that one is done. Thank God.
Good stuff.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Lavell, you mentioned how easy it is to get, into debt. And I remember even in high school and right before college where we would get credit cards in the mail. I don't know if they do that now. But back then, credit cards were constantly coming in the mail, and it's very enticing, especially when you want extra money or you want to be able to buy things, to accept those credit cards at those times. But then as you get older, you kind of learn, that, really might not have been a good idea to accept all those cards.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't gonna tell this, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell it. I'm telling this to hopefully encourage somebody. But when my wife and I got married, we actually went through the Dave Ramsey program right before we got married. It was my pastor's gift to us as our marriage counseling. So when we got married, we went to Universal Studios as one of our destinations. We went on a cruise and we went to Universal Studios. Now the good thing was our entire trip was paid for. Everything was paid for. But when we got to Universal Studios, right at the gate as you're walking in, they were offering a credit card. And they said if you take this card, you get the free what is that, speed pass or whatever, where you can get for anybody else. So I told my wife, I was like, babe, I said, let's get this card. We don't have to use it. We just getting it. We just getting it just so we can get these passes. And she was like, no, don't do it. And I was like, no, we can do this. Yeah. So that card I ended up on like $8,000 on that card.
Oh wow!
And when I look back, I was just so ashamed. And whenever we do our debt-free scream on Dave Ramsey, I don't know if I'm gonna tell that part of the story because I know Dave will go off. Yeah,
not that bad in person.
All right, good. All right, so debt was kind of creeping up on you all, but you all didn't really realize it. So what made you make the decision to say, you know what, we need to be debt free. We need to get rid of these credit card debts, the student loans, and I know you all talked a little bit on on Dave Ramsey's show about the timeshare or whatnot. So, what made you all say, you know what, this is it? We need to do something, lock down, and get out of debt?
I would actually say the budget. When we actually started going through the budget process, it was legit. We had a legitimate 3.5 hour meeting where because I'm the nerd of the family here. So I'm the one with the Excel documents and the spreadsheets and usually handle all the financial business and all that type of stuff.
I'm the free spirit, of course.
Yep. So I come down from the mountain with the 10 commandments, and like, hey, this is what we got going on. And that's pretty much how it went. And actually, she got on board. She got on board right away. Once we start, and I think that's a wonderful thing. She got on board right away. So we started going through the budget. We started talking. We started talking about our future. The benefits of going through it, and it worked out.
Nice. I cannot express enough to anyone out there that how much of a blessing it is when a husband and a wife are on the same page with finances.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's key.
Yes, I've heard some horror stories. Even I actually know some people who got divorced because they just couldn't get on that same page with finances. So,
it's huge. It's definitely huge, and I'm just grateful. Like I said, we got I purchased the book, Total Money Makeover, read it in a day and a half, and then my mind was made up. Once I finished the book, I'm like, hey, let's go, and I just had to sell it to her, and it didn't take much selling because it just made sense. I think when you explain it to your partner, spouse, whatever, in a reasonable manner, in a logical manner, it should be fairly easy. You say, here's where we are here. This is what we want to do, and you lay out a future plan. I mean, because at some point you're not going to be young all the time. I'm 41, I'll be 42 this year. I'll be looking at retirement, hopefully somewhere in 15 years or so, maybe a little longer, and all that type of stuff. And you got to think about those things. So it made it fairly easy for myself.
Nice. All right. So let me ask this question, and then we're going to jump into some of the frustrations that you all went through. So how did you find out about Financial Peace University and, Dave Ramsey, and what made you decide to go ahead and try this out?
Okay, I think so. I'm the one who actually found out. So I was a dispatch supervisor at UPS and in the feeder department there. And one of my drivers, he's retired now, but a shout out to Will Tarver, living in Mobile, Alabama right now. Will told me, he said, we talked all the time. He said, hey, you need to check out this guy named Dave Ramsey. And so, I had one of the Post-it notes that we use, and I just wrote down the name, stuck it on the window. But after that initial conversation, I didn't think twice about it. I just took the Post-it note with me and put it in a drawer somewhere when I got home. Never followed up on anything. And that was in 2006. It was 2006. Well, in 2008, I was driving to work, as a matter of fact, or driving from work. And Dave Ramsey, he had just started really getting traction in the Metro Detroit area because, most of his stuff was over in the Grand Rapids area, the western part of the state. So they started putting billboards up in like Livonia over by 96 and Southwest Freeway and that whole area. And I saw it said, Dave Ramsey says act your wage or something similar to that. And I'm like, that name sounds familiar. And then I thought back. I never forgot the conversation I had with Will. And so I went back home and looked at the name and said, that is the guy. And then he started coming on, I think it was 1035 up there, if I remember correctly. It's been 7 years since I've been up there, but he started a radio show. So I started looked him up and listened to the radio show, and I was hooked, and that's when it began for us in July 2008.
Wow. Okay. And I had never heard of Dave Ramsey when my pastor asked us to do this program, but it was life changing. It really was. And I started researching him, and I was like, wow, and he seemed like he really cared. like this wasn't something he was just doing for money.
Mm-hmm.
It really seemed like, when I was researching him, I was like, he seemed like he really wants people to get out of debt.
Right.
He's out. He could just be on about his merry business, but he seems like he really wants to help people. And that was what attracted us to the program. And plus, and to be honest, the God element helped out a lot too.
For sure. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So you all, once you sat down and had your 3.5-hour meeting, you realized that you had $145,000 in debt. Was that like a eye-popping moment? Like, I mean, I know you all knew you had debt, but to see that it was that much, did that like make your mouth drop open, or?
I can't, it seems like it's been so long ago, but I mean, it seems, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Don't look at me like that.
Okay.
I would say initially, I want to say that was it 100? It was. I know we were tackling at the time where we started the Dave Ramsey program. We were tackling student loan debt and credit card debt, and I think along the way we kind of accumulated some more things, especially more so the timeshare, because that was pretty much over a bulk of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt a little overwhelming, but I mean, I knew Ronald had a plan for us to try to get out of it. So being the free spirit that I am, I trusted, what he, wanted to do, to help our family to get out of debt. And, I just pretty much kind of just followed along with it.
Yeah.
And ironically, so I'll tell you how we got caught in the timeshare.
Okay.
I went down to the Taste Fest.
Okay.
And I was down at the Taste Fest, over there in that area, getting the food and just walking around and stuff. And they were say, hey, if you sign up for this, you can go get a 2 or 3 day stay at a resort. All you got to do is show up. I think the building was in Novi, as a matter of fact. Show up in Novi. We're going to take you a tour of what the condo's like and all that type of stuff. So I'm like, hey, 2-3 day vacation, I'm for it. And this was like, I think it was before we got married, actually. We were engaged at that time. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, cool. So I went out there and I called her on the phone. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And I was all enamored. They got the tour, the condos all in the office building, everything laid out for you. And that's how we got hooked on that. So,
yeah. We didn't do the timeshare. I think by that point, I think we were on our 2-year, our second year. But I remember, we went through the thing to get the free tickets or whatnot, but when they sat down with, and they are very persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And you all know that point where you keep saying no, and then the guy goes to get his.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Man, and then they come and they say, okay, well, we'll cut this off. And it was like, it's very tempting.
Yeah.
It is very tempting. So I actually do not recommend you do it, because it's very easy to accept that and to say, okay, wow, that sounds, because that's their job.
Right.
Their job is to make it sound good. They're not going to tell you what's going to happen 5 years from now.
Right.
Their job is to sell it to you now. So it is, it's very, very easy to do. So it took you all 7 years, but you were able to wipe out this large sum of debt. What were some of the frustrations that you all went through during that 7 years? I'm sure it was a roller coaster ride, or was it? Maybe it was just all easy for you. Go ahead and just talk a little bit about any frustrations and victories that you all had during that 7-year period.
Well, I can say my biggest frustration had nothing to do really with our journey. I mean, there were sacrifices that you had to make. I know me, I was getting the cheap haircuts. I was going to Lady Jane's and just getting with no more fades, just getting the $20 cut and keep it moving, or $18 cut, whatever it was at that time. I actually switched over. I traded in my smartphone and got a dumb phone. So I had I went to Best Buy. Yep, I really did. I went to Best Buy and I got a $20 flip phone. And my bill was like $9 a month, and I just used that. But those weren't really my frustrations for me, because once we started rolling, and this is one of the most important parts, because a while ago, before we did the Dave Ramsey program, we did this from Debt to Wealth program, and I think the guy's name was like Larry Commuter or something like that, and his similar methods, but his take was from doing your highest interest rate, first. And so where Dave was different, and what I actually agreed with, because yes, from a mathematical standpoint, it makes sense. But if your highest interest rate is your highest debt, you're not making any gains, So even though we were, paying, so initially when we started that, we were paying on it because our highest debt was our highest interest rate. And it seemed like we weren't making any progress at all. So that's why that wasn't working. Plus, there was no budget aspect to it, but the budget is real key. But my biggest frustration, believe it or not, it had nothing to do with our journey. It was just that we were so excited about sharing this with everybody else, whether family, friends, whoever, and particularly in the African-American community. This type of stuff is not really taught on the average person. And just seeing people who say they want to win but really don't want to win, you talk is cheap. That was the most frustrating for me, to see people, like I literally know people who make $100,000+ a year and didn't even have $200 in the bank account to buy a snowblower to blow snow in Michigan.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people who, and that's why I tell people, it's not necessarily about how much money you make, but what you do with the money that you do make. Because a lot of people, they think because they make a lot of money, but if your net worth is, pretty much nothing, I mean, you really don't have nothing to fall back on. And so my biggest frustration was just seeing people who would, be on the verge of divorce, or people who would be so frustrated and say, hey, this worked for us. Here you go. I mean, it got to the point we were giving away books. We were buying books. We were actually putting people through Financial Peace University, for our church. We just, at certain points, we was just giving away buying the whole kit, because we were so adamant about helping people. And just to see people who on the verge of divorce or frustrated, and then saying all the problems they have, but then they post them on Facebook on their vacation in Orlando or Hawaii or wherever, it was very frustrating. And it could be, especially if it's your family or friends. I've had it where, you could have family and friends, just pretty much disregard it, and then total strangers just jump up on it. And that was the biggest frustration for me, because you have a lot of people that talk and say, hey, we want to win, and here's a plan, here's what you can do, and people don't necessarily want to do it.
Yeah. We my pastor did another class after we had went through it, and she asked my wife and I to host the class, and we didn't really want to do it because we were still in debt, and but we went ahead and did it, but we just were kind of, basically we were just showing the videos and just kind of talking a little bit about it. But it is difficult, when you see, when the class first starts, it's full, everybody's there, and then over the course of the 9 or 10 weeks or so, they start, dropping off. So I understand that frustration of, trying to show people. Now, let me just say this real quick. So on the Dave Ramsey program, we talked a little bit about this on a previous show. If you all go back to the first season, look at the episode with David Mosley, who's a financial consultant. He is an actual certified Dave Ramsey coach, and he talked about the 7 baby steps. So what happens is, let me just list these baby steps real quick. Number 1, the first thing you do is get an emergency fund of $1,000 because life happens. Something's going to happen. Number 2 is starting the debt snowball and eliminating all debt. And Ron, as you kind of hinted at, Dave says to start with the smallest debt first. And I remember when I first heard that, I was like, that don't sound right. But then he explained it. If you start with your smallest debt first, once you knock, it's easier to knock that out, and it gives you this sense of accomplishment.
Yes,
Right.
small victory.
Exactly. It's a small victory. You like, oh, I can do this. And then the next one and the next one. But if you start with the biggest, it's so hard trying to knock out that biggest that you could possibly get discouraged. So I actually like that starting with the smallest debt that you owe, go ahead and knock that out. And then whatever you were paying on that, add that amount to the next bill once you knock that one out. So if you have a Best Buy card and it's $1,000 on it, and you're paying $100 a month on that, once you knock that out completely, you were already paying an extra $100. Take that $100 and add it to the next debt, and then take that amount, add it to the next, and then you'll knock out that debt. So that's baby step number 2. Number 3 is to add to that $1,000 emergency fund and have what he calls a fully funded emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your income. And that way, if anything happens, you got the money there, and you set that money aside. You don't touch it. An emergency is not, I want to go to Hawaii this year. That's not an emergency. Only use that for emergencies. I think number 4 is invest 15%.
Correct.
Of your income, because remember, now you're completely out of debt and you have a fully funded emergency fund. So now you can add 15% of your money. You can add that to like Roth IRAs and different savings accounts or whatnot to build your wealth so that when you do retire, you can retire with some money. Believe number 5 is the children's college fund, I believe. So you get your kids taken care of so they don't have to go through what you went through. Number 6 is to pay off your home. So the home is not included in the debt in baby step 2.
Correct.
But once you have all of that paid off, now you're putting 15% of your money up, is to go ahead and take some chunks and pay off that house. And then finally, baby step 7 is the freedom step. It's, now you don't have any debt. Your house is paid off. Your kids' college fund is paid up. You have a fully funded emergency fund, and you're already building wealth. So literally, I like the way Dave puts it. He says, now you can live and give like no one else. So those are the baby steps. I really appreciate those baby steps, and we're only on baby step 2 right now, but we are really looking forward to when we get to that 7th baby step, and we are fully funded and debt free.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Now you had mentioned a little bit earlier, Stephanie, about knowing that your husband had a plan, gave you security. But what would you all say to a couple out there that they may not be on the same page? What advice would you give them to help them get on the same page? And I'll tell you all a little story. One of the couples in the class that my wife and I were doing, actually the young lady was a friend of mine. We went to college together. So it was good to see her, and that was my first time meeting her husband, and and her husband was gung-ho about it. He was gung-ho, and she told me, she was like, Lavell, I don't want to do this. I'm not interested in it. I'm just doing it because he asked me. And then sure enough, over the course of the weeks, they were there the first 2 weeks. The 3rd week, he came by himself. The 4th week, I didn't see either one of them again. So they kind of both dropped out. And I felt really bad because I know the potential that they had. So what would you all say to someone out there who, needs to get on the same page with their, what's the best way to get on that same page?
I would say just to we definitely would have to have a conversation about it. I know a lot of times when callers call in and talk to Dave, he always tells them to kind of, envision what life would look like if we were debt free. Think about some of the goals that you might have in life as a couple or in your family that you might be able to do once you become debt free. And so maybe that is something that, they can discuss and talk about and see, we can go travel the world, once we get out of debt. And so I just think it is very important for both the husband and the wife to come together to get through this process, because I mean, it would definitely be difficult if one if definitely is not on board, to say the least.
Right.
But I mean, and a lot of it sometimes can be trust, because I mean, I knew nothing about Dave Ramsey when Ronald came, brought this information home. And so it's basically me trusting him, based on what he saw and, what he thought would be best for our family. So I think a lot of it is trust. And so, I mean, I guess if there's a trust issue, that could be, another issue that I'm far beyond my reach, but it's definitely important, that the partners do stay on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the key things you said was have a conversation about it. Sit down and talk. Don't, if the husband is the one that's on board and the wife is not, husband, don't hammer her over the head because you got the revelation.
Yeah.
And it can be easy to do, it can be easy to do, when you're gung ho about something, like you said, you want everybody to get it. So, especially your wife, or same thing if the wife is the one that's on board and the husband is not, have a conversation, make it look appealing. Just imagine, like I like the way you put it, imagine what we could be doing if we were completely debt free. And if we just work hard for a few years, we can do this. I remember Dave told a story about a friend of his who was completely debt free, and he was at his house, and the guy said, he asked the guy what was he doing for the summer, and he said me and my wife are taking all of our kids and grandkids on a 14-day cruise. And Dave said, you're paying for it? And the guy said, yeah. And he was, completely out of debt and had accumulated a couple, $1 million. And I think he said the total was like $75,000 for them to go on this cruise with all of their kids and all of their grandkids, just as a family. And it was just so matter of factly, like he had the $70,000 to just be able to take his family on this cruise. And that really, really blessed me.
Yeah, that's huge. Definitely a good selling point.
Yes, right. Absolutely. All right, so why don't you all just I'm going to take some listen, if anybody out there has some questions, I actually have at least 2 questions that popped in. So we'll throw those questions out in a minute, but if you all have any questions, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and enter those questions in and we'll talk about it. So my last question before I ask you all to give some advice to certain categories of people is, what are the benefits of becoming debt-free, and what type of things have you all been doing since you became debt-free?
Well, so some of the benefits I share with you when we were getting ready to do this, that both of us actually had COVID last month. Okay. And actually mine was a little bit worse, where I actually was in the hospital for 5 days. And so thinking about that, when I received the hospital bill, they itemized the things in Georgia. For my total stay for 5 days was like $35,000.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, they have everything itemized, from the antibiotics to the steroids to everything, to the pill, and obviously, thank God I had insurance. But even with the insurance, my deductible was like $6,000. Yep. So we just got hit with a $5,100 bill just a couple weeks ago. So having that flexibility, and also we have some other medical things that we had to take care of. So within that week, we also got hit with a $6,600 bill. But the thing is, we don't owe, it's not on credit cards or anything.
Yeah.
Just not, I'm not gonna say you like writing that check or paying that bill. I mean, that's no fun. But it's better than paying a credit card, and paying the interest on it as well. So you have flexibility, because like Dave says, emergencies really aren't emergencies when you have an emergency fund. As far as we also said, one of the things that we said, we love to travel. All right. The best, and we had some great trips. I mean, We've been kind of all over the place, from Hawaii to Alaska. We've been to Europe, hit up London, Paris, Edinburgh, Scotland. My personal favorite, we went with TBN and Joel Osteen. We went to Israel in 2018 for the
Nice.
Grace and Hope tour. And so, you have flexibility where basically you can pretty much do whatever you want to do within reason. And those are the benefits.
Yes. Wow. I remember Dave Ramsey told a story when him and his wife first started the program, and they went through these baby steps before they were announcing that they were even baby steps, and they had their fully funded emergency fund. And he said their van or something that broke down, and they took it to the shop. And now they had a fully funded emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your yearly income. And the guy told him it was $9,000. And he said they wrote the check, gave it. And he said when they drove out the lot, they pulled up to a traffic light. And he said they just looked at each other and was like, this is weird. We just wrote a $9,000 check, and it didn't hurt us in the least bit. And I said, wow, that has to be amazing. And like you said, it's no fun writing these checks. But to know that you have it, and I'll say right now, if I got a $9,000 bill, I wouldn't be as calm as you are right now. So yes, man, that is really a blessing. So two groups of people I want you all to talk to, and I got a couple of questions coming in here. What advice would you give to someone who says that they are just way too in debt and that there is no way out for them? What advice would you give to that person who just feels like this is just too much? I can't do it. I don't know what to do.
Well, I would say I don't think that there is any amount that is just way too deep to get out of. I think it just may seem massive at the moment, and it'll definitely take time for them to get out of debt. But if they just keep working at it, keep going from smallest to highest bill, and to capture those small victories along the way, I mean, I'm certain that they'll be able to get out of it. I mean, it'll take time. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of discipline, and it just takes you just really wanting to be debt free to, make the strides that you need to make in order to get to that point. If you're a believer, pray first, ask the Lord to give you what you need to go through this process. Because definitely I would say we could not have gone through this process without God and his guidance all along the way. And so, I mean, just keep going, keep at it, just keep pushing. If you're able to go to a Financial Peace University class, where there are others that are in the class where you can gain encouragement or accountability partners, somebody that can push you along the way, just keep going and just know that, if you keep pushing, you would definitely be able to reach your goal.
And I would add to that. We did some things like we were always, any type of conferences or anything that was coming up, we went to. We went to Dave's first SMART conference in Dallas when the first time he did it. And we went through that whole process. Any type of developmental type stuff, when you go through Financial Peace University, being in there with other couples, we took it at a church that we didn't belong to. It was just a church like right around the corner from where we live. And we went there and just hearing the stories, that was encouragement. And then I would challenge people to also challenge yourself. Like, for instance, one of the things that I realized was that, and a lot of people don't even know this, a lot of people do have the money. They just don't necessarily want to make the cuts they want to make. For instance, I talked about my cell phone bill, right? We were paying probably like $150 or whatever it is for 2 cell phones, whatever. Well, I just got rid of my phone and got a dumb phone, right? I mean, the phone was $20, so my bill went from like $150 where I wasn't even paying I was only paying like $20. Because if you think about it, look at your cable, right? Cable's not, a necessity. You know what I'm saying? You can get the digital. So we were looking, I think at one point we were paying like $150 for cell phones, $150 for cable, internet, and all that type of stuff. That's $300 a month. Multiply that times 12. That's money right there. So you basically spending over $3,000 a year on cable, in a smartphone that is not even really a necessity. So that's a start. So then, if you start making those, okay, do you go out to lunch, every day? Like one of the things we found out, and I failed to mention this when the first time I actually went through the budget, I found out that we were spending $400 a month eating out. You know what I'm saying? And like we go to church and all our friends like, hey, we going here, we going there. You know how that is, right? Yes, and you're going out, next thing you know, you're spending $50 here, $75 here, and all that type of stuff. And then, so it got to the point where it's like, hey, we can't go, cook at home, and you do start making things like that, and you'll find out you have much more money than you think you do. And sometimes it's just a matter of income, right? Sometimes, I know I got people in my family who do Uber and stuff on the side, making $1,500 a month just doing Uber on the side, and they like doing it, so there are ways to get around it. So I would just challenge people to actually challenge yourself. Look, go through it like a fine tooth comb, you know what I'm saying? And actually challenge yourself as to what are things that we can do that are a little bit different.
Yeah. Man, that's good. And I was actually getting ready to say that a lot of times we don't want to make the necessary sacrifices. It's not that we can't do it. Is we don't want to. And you named everything I was going to name with the cable and the cell phones and the eating out and all of that. So we, if you find it unsurmountable or insurmountable to climb this mountain of debt, we all have to be willing to make the sacrifices.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that I know that Baby Step 7, he says, live like no one else, live and give like no one else. But he starts off by saying, live like no one else. In other words, that's the saying no to my church friends on Sunday when it's going out, or my buddies that call through the week and say, let's go grab a bite to eat, or I have to have Netflix and Paramount Plus and Hulu, and by the time you add all of these up, you're back paying more than you were paying when you were just paying for your regular cable. So you have to be willing to make the sacrifices. But the good thing is that the sacrifices are only momentary.
Oh wow.
I thought about the scriptures that says the sufferings of this present time. They're not worthy to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed in us. And in context, that's talking about our salvation. But we can use that and say, if we momentarily sacrifice to get to where we need to be, then we will be able to rejoice and be able to help and bless other people as well.
And, I just give a quick shout out to my wife. My wife, she did her own hair for like 7 years. She did her own nails for like 7 years. Women's hair is expensive.
Right.
So like, she washes, she get in there and do what she got to do to get it together.
Every now and then I had to go to the salon.
right.
But for the most part, she did it. And so, save money wherever you can. If people really be honest with themselves, you can find money.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Actually, you all answered the second question, which was, what advice would you give to someone who's on the path to becoming debt free, but it seems like it's just getting too hard? You all answered that question beautifully. So what I want to do real quick is I want to show your debt free screen on the Dave Ramsey Show. We're not going to show the whole video is about 8 minutes long. We'll show maybe about 2 minutes of that video, and so we all can see when you finally got to do the debt free screen, and then we'll answer. We got a few questions in the queue, so let me make sure I can do this properly here. All righty. All right, all right, sorry about that. Let me do it one more time. I didn't hit the audio button. All right, share with audio. There we go. All right. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. I meant to download the video and then so I'm trying to show it on YouTube. Let's see, application window. There we go. All right, sorry about I can't get it to play, but what I'll do is I will put it in the description link. I'll put the link to the YouTube video in the description, and I cannot admonish you all enough. Please go watch that video. When Janaea told me about you all, she sent me the link to the video, and me and my wife watched it, and it was just such a blessing. It really was like, oh my God. And, not to honestly, it felt good to see another black couple that went through this. It wasn't just all white people. Race doesn't matter, but it did feel good to see another African-American couple that went through this program, and it encouraged us, and it truly blessed us. So after the show ends tonight, I'll make sure I put it in the description link so everybody can see you all yelling, "We're debt-free," and hopefully it will encourage somebody.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, listen, so let's see here. I got a couple of comments here. So this is my uncle. He said, debt is so easy to get into and so hard to get out of. Yes, It is. And then he also asks here, he says, what is the limit when you should start paying attention that you're spending too much? Or should you set your own limit?
Well, actually, we used Dave has these forms in the back of his book, and we also had the CD that we have on our computer, and it basically gives you a range about how much you should spend in each category. So basically what we did, we just used that. So for instance, he says no more than 25% on your housing, for instance. So, you try and manage that. So much percent for food, so much for clothing. And then we just trying to manage that. And when we were going through, we were just trying to get it to basically pretty much bare minimum. What's the lowest amount we can get without, looking homeless and, and looking like we starving,
Right.
What's the lowest amount that we can get? He has it in the back of his books, and he has a little DVD CD that you put a program on there that we use. So, and we kind of went by that as a guide.
Yeah, and then the good thing about getting into the program, I think it's $100 or $120 per year. But and you have access to everything, But one of the good things is they have a app that you all can download on your phone, and all you do is enter in the amounts, and it does all the work for you.
Yep, every dollar we use it.
Every dollar.
Yep.
Yes. So
He's always on the app.
Yeah. I gotta keep her honest.
Yeah. All right, so this is Jeffrey Taylor, my buddy Jeffrey Taylor. He said, good evening. Would you say that debt placed a strain on your marriage in any kind of way? And is there a difference now that you're debt free?
I don't think it did, and I think that goes to the point earlier when your spouse is on board with the process, then it makes it a lot easier. I honestly can't remember a time where it was actually a strain. Maybe at some points Ronald was just kept telling me that I can't spend certain things. But other than that, I honestly never felt a strain on our marriage while we were going through this particular process. And even now, I just think it has brought us, closer together. So no, I on my end, I don't know. Yeah. Ronald might have something different to say, but
no, I would agree. It wasn't a strain on us. It wasn't a strain on us at all. But really, what it does when you get in hard times, it really shows you what your marriage is made of to begin with. On your marriage, our foundation is God, obviously, and our covenant. And so those things help when you know what to focus on. So it wasn't an issue at all.
Okay, good. Thank God. Because You know, and that is, as I said before, that is a blessing. Because, like I said, I know some couples where it just, the strain, there was strain, and it just was so much that the marriage didn't actually make it. So, thank God when you do have that connection with your spouse where you're on the same page. Not saying it's easy, you know, but at least you're on the same page financially. And I actually I was talking to Jeffrey yesterday. He had called. I called him to check on something, and we were talking about that. And I told him, I said, I cannot express to you how much of a blessing it is that my wife and I are on the same page with finances. So it's a blessing.
It is. It is.
All right. If anybody else has any questions, go ahead and type them in. My mother says a lot of credit card companies give you cards that have high monetary limits. What advice would you give to someone just getting out of debt regarding using credit cards again? That is a great question.
It is.
It is. Well, we had a couple of placectomies for sure. So, when we came actually when we went to Financial Peace University at the church, we had it where everybody brought people brought in their credit cards, cut them up right there in class. I've heard of people putting their credit card in water and freezing it. And then, and things of that nature. But I mean, to be honest, as you see the debt goes down, there's really not a need for them. As you increase your net worth and you pay down your debt, ideally the goal is to have more cash readily available. So that's what my thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. A buddy of mine was on Facebook yesterday, and he was posting about, you don't need a credit card, and another friend of mine commented on there and was like, and this is what he said. He actually said, you know what, Dave Ramsey had me sold on that until I saw some rich people who do things differently. And I said, wow. And I thought that was interesting. So I kind of was playing this in my head here, and I was like, okay, there are exceptions to every rule, right? But for the most part, people are not good with having credit cards.
Yeah.
That's just for the most part, because most people are not disciplined enough to have them. So I would say be honest with yourself. Now, I wasn't honest with myself when my wife and I were at Universal Studios, because I wasn't honest with myself. I really wasn't. Now, I knew my credit card debt history, but I still said, let's get this card. I can handle it. I can do it, And we do that with a lot of areas of our lives. But I would say for the most part, you have those few people who are my wife, for instance. She didn't have any credit card debt when we came into our relationship. She had student loans, but she didn't have any credit card debt, and she is really, really good with that. Me, on the other hand, I'm not. So, like Stephanie, when you were talking about those letters that come in the mail, yes, they still do come. As soon as they come, I don't open them. I literally put them in the shredder immediately. Because I know me. So I think we need to be honest with ourselves. Most people are not good with credit cards. You got this credit card, and that it's $5,000 on there. It's very easy to say, well, I'm only spending $200. I'm going to pay it right back. And then usually you don't, and then it ends up escalating. So I think we have to be really honest with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all. I don't have any other questions here. I appreciate you all for joining us, and I'm just going to let you all kind of have some last words. Stephanie, if you want to go first, and then Ron, you can close it out. Just have a few last words, anything that you want to say to the audience out there, people that are watching, whether they're in debt or out of debt. When my church did the Dave Ramsey program, my mother came with it also, and she was already debt free, but she went through the class anyway, and she got a lot of valuable tips. So it was a blessing, just knowing that she was already debt free. But you may have someone out there that's debt free. You may have someone out there that's in debt. just give us some last and final words. Anything that you feel on your heart that you want to say to the audience.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, again, Lavell, for having us on your podcast this evening.
Absolutely.
We were honored. And just to those that are out there, those that are still, thinking about starting the debt-free journey, or those that are on the debt-free journey, I just encourage you to just keep moving, keep pushing. Just look at, what's ahead, because once you get through this process, we know that you will definitely continue to be blessed now, hopefully, but then be blessed once you complete the debt-free journey. And we're just thankful that God was allowed us to be able to do it, and to hopefully to encourage other people to become debt-free as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Ronald, you got any last words?
I'm just echoing, I just want to encourage, particularly those in our community, the Black community. I mean, I was doing some reading a while ago, and it basically said that as far as our community is concerned, we are like consumers, and like in the trillions of dollars, like literally if every Black person stopped consuming in this country, the economy would literally shut down. And so we've got to get past that. And, I hear on the radio where you have people of other demographics where, their kids are like doing lemonade stands, or their kids are investing or getting their first jobs, and they're getting an IRA at 16. And those are the types of things that we need to do in our community. And, for those who feel like it's overwhelming, I mean, you can do it. We're prime examples of that, and I know Dave has had, I forgot the millions of people now, but I know it's upwards of 4 million people that have gotten out of debt. You can do it. You just got to have your mindset. Hey, what do I want my future? What do you want your future to look like? And that's pretty much where it goes. But in order for us to change our community, we've got to get this now and then pass it to our kids. So, just like in the relay, you give them a good enough start where they can run on. And so that's what I'm focused on. And also, just becoming debt free so you can help others. I'm real big on helping those who are less fortunate than us. And we have the flexibility to do that.
Amen.
I had a buddy that reached out to me just 2 days ago where some friends, because he had a friend of his who passed away, and they needed, expenses for the funeral and all those type of stuff. You have the flexibility to do that. If we have been in debt, I'm like, hey, I can't help you. I don't know what to tell you. Wish we could, but we have the flexibility to do a lot of things. And so giving is just a wonderful experience. I mean, I enjoy giving more than I enjoy receiving, and that's just the truth. So, things to ponder on and focus on.
Definitely. Well, I cannot express how much I appreciate you all. And that was Janaea. Janaea is watching, so if you all
hey, Jay.
Yes, so I cannot shout out to Janaea for linking us together. And again, I appreciate you all. You all are an inspiration to my wife and I, and I'm sure to the other people that are watching, even people who are going to watch this on the replay. I cannot express my appreciation to both of you. Thank you all so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. Honored to be here. God bless you as well.
Amen. All right, listen, everybody. That was Ronald and Stephanie Jordan, and I truly appreciate them for coming on the show. She said, hey, y'all, they're still in the studio in the back. They're waving at you, Janaea. So, yeah, definitely thank you so much, Janaea, for linking us together. I appreciate them. I appreciate their journey, and thank God. Listen, I thank God for all of you all who've watched the show. Listen, share it out. Do a watch party. Or whatever, just share it out. If you know somebody that needs to hear this message, go ahead and share it on their page or send them the YouTube link to make sure that they get this message. Thank you so much. My mother-in-law says that it's an awesome show and an awesome couple. Yes, definitely. So I appreciate them for coming on. Listen, make sure you continue to tune in. We have some great shows lined up. Next week, I'm going to be talking to, you all remember the first Thursday of March, I talked to Latoya Early. She was a startup coach, a female startup coach. So her husband, Demetrius Early, we call him Meech, actually has a dad coaching business. And we're gonna, it's our next week will be our pre-Father's Day show. So I texted him and I was like, "What are some of the things we're gonna talk about?" Listen to this. He said, healing and understanding the many different forms of fatherlessness and how they show up. Forgiveness without closure. The impact of fathership and the benefits. And I said, man, those are some wonderful, wonderful topics that we're going to talk about with Demetrius Early, the dad coach, on next week. The week after that is going to be another Defense Thursdays. Remember Defense Thursday for May, I talked about how do we know that the Bible is really the Word of God. And this time I have two guests that are going to be coming on, Elder Mike Holloway, Minister Desmond Ingram. We're going to be talking about how we got our Bible. And these two brothers have a wealth of knowledge. So make sure that you tune in. Arthur says, thank you for all the good advice and sharing your stories. And this includes thanking you, Lavell. I appreciate you, Arthur. Arthur is a faithful viewer, and I truly appreciate that. And listen, everybody, I always forget to put this up, but I want to make sure I put this up. If anyone wants to be a blessing to Kneel Down Productions and what we're going to be doing, we have some plays in the works. Was going to be for this year, but we're going to, because of COVID, we pushed them back to next year. But you can give to us through PayPal at Kneel Down Productions or through Cash App. Our Cash App handle is $Kneel Down Pro. $Kneel Down Pro if you would like to support Kneel Down Productions, or you can go to my website, kneeldownproductions.com, click on the donate tab, and all of these ways of giving are secure. So if you would like to donate, we would very, very much appreciate it. Also, I told my boy Dez, who's going to be on the show in 2 weeks, that he has an apologetics conference that is going to be coming up. And so I just want to make sure that you all know about this amazing apologetics apologetics conference that they are going to be having. As you all can see, Desmond is the host. It's going to be at Christian Bethel Church on West Jefferson in Ecorse, Michigan. He has Elder Mike Holloway, Colin Bailey, Chris Samuel, and Dr. Chris Featherstone. And some of the topics are we under the old or new covenant? Is Seventh-day Adventism biblical? Is the world of the faith movement connected to New Age spirituality? And the introduction to textual criticism. It's going to be on Friday and Saturday, June 18th and 19th. Friday will be 7 p.m., and Saturday will be 1:30 p.m. It is going to be on Desmond Ingram's Facebook page if you cannot make it live in person. It will be streaming live on Desmond's Facebook page. So make sure that you check that out. It's going to be fire. So we're excited about that. Well, listen, that's all I have for today. Again, I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure that you share this message out. And again, I'm going to put the link to Ron and Steph's debt-free scream in the description. Just give me about 30 minutes and I'll make sure it's there. You can click on that YouTube video and you can watch that video, and they just had a great time, and I'm so happy and proud of them. Again, God bless you all. Thank you all so much. Tune in next week and we'll see you on the show.